Okay guys and girls, welcome back to another video. I'm here with Tom. We're at CSI headquarters, and what I want to do today is get Tom on record on a couple of things. So Tom, before we turn on the camera, you and I were talking, kind of discussing some of the topics we wanted to talk about. So because I never know who is tuning into what video at what time, at what part of the process they're coming in, some of this will be repeat. But what I wanted you to do is say, okay, Tom, I've heard you say like, okay, CSI is the best. But then I said like, okay, would you be willing to go on record with that? And you're like, absolutely. Which I already know the answer to that, which is part of why I was willing to invest in this company, is because I've been using it in the real world for 15 plus years. So I already know it performed. And I already knew enough about it to know it's like, wow, okay, this truly is unique. But what has always frustrated me is that there's company after company after company that comes out, and what do they say? We're the best. It's like, you know what? Tell me something that every other company's not already telling me. It's like, oh, we're the best. Now, maybe they have some unique value proposition, is what I call it, is like, okay, we're the best because of this. We're the best because of that. It's like, but unfortunately, because of my critical thinking, that's where they stop. Is like, oh, well, we're the best because we can outperform our competitors, or I don't know, they come up with something. But in my brain, it's like, well, I'm not just going to accept your word for it. I want to understand what that even means. So one of the topics we're going to be covering in the next video, which is a topic that has to do with anti-static formulations, where they'll put it on the bottle, anti-static formulation. It's like, well, okay, I think I know that that's a good thing, but I don't really understand how that applies to the world of a car care product. But what I wanted to do is talk about how you came to be, as in CSI, a single product polish, a single product system, and how the catalyzing moment. So you've discussed it, and I want to capture it on film. But first, it's like if you were talking to, let's say you walked into a body shop and you see all your competitors' products, and really, because that's the difference, you're the auto body world, I'm the detailing world. So I'm familiar with like 1,000 different products. You're familiar with a few main players. Like, so when you went into a body shop, what were some of the product lines that were commonplace in the world of auto body? What were those products?
For us in the body shop trade, and I'm going to go back, to when I was a little boy working at my dad's shop too.
So was that like 40-ish years?
Oh yeah, over 40 years.
Okay, yeah. So over 40 years.
I thought 1940. It's like, okay, no, I'm not quite that old yet. Yeah, over 40, over 50 years. So, my brother and I are just playing at my dad's shop with whatever, things that little boys could get in trouble with. But 3M dominated this market, and they have, and they still do. I mean, they're still the biggest player in the industry. Did they work for us? Yeah, they did. They worked.
But that's where my critical thinking, and this has to do with one of my mantras, which is the quality of your questions will largely determine the quality of your life. Mm-hmm. So when you say, were they working? It's like, well, whoa, wait a minute. Mm-hmm. Let's clarify working. Like, so working, what does that mean to you? Like, well, they worked. Like, I mean, because working can just be like marginal, as in like, okay, but that's not working in my world.
But in our industry, I didn't know what marginal was. I mean, we were winning everything that you possibly could win in the car show world.
Okay, once again, I'm going to clarify every step of the way. So when you say we were winning, mm-hmm. You're at your dad's body shop at this point.
At my dad's body shop.
So your dad's body shop was winning.
Well, winning at my dad's body shop would have been a little different. We're in Ohio. Maybe doing an acrylic lacquer paint job and delivering this beautiful finish, I would have determined as winning.
Okay.
And at that point in my life, I was not questioning what my dad was using. It was always changing as far as that side of the business goes. Whereas
what part was changing? The products that you guys
products
used?
that we were using,
and that would be the manufacturers, or the different types of products that the manufacturer would come out with for you guys.
It would be both, looking back, I would say that would be determined by the salesman that came in and gave my dad a good pitch.
Okay.
Liquid ebony. Oh, that was a big one.
Who made liquid ebony?
I have no idea.
Okay. Because I'm even old enough to remember liquid ebony, right? But I have no idea who made it.
And we would use it, you would be asking a lot. I mean, now that I'm a formulator, you're asking a lot of this product called liquid ebony when we had so many problems with the foundational products we were using for doing color sanding and polishing. But this was the combination of the salesperson coming in and pushing what he thought he knew to me. Again, I'm a young boy. I'm not going to challenge anything that my dad tells me to do. But at the same time, and we've talked about this before, because the things that are ground into my head are the mistakes that I would make working on acrylic lacquer paint jobs or non-catalyzed acrylic enamel Centauris and Deltrons and those kind of
names that a guy like me would never understand. Yeah, keep talking.
Yeah, the guys in our trade would totally understand the these paint companies. So when the one of the biggest things is if you can't find anything better than what you're using, you just continue to use that.
Right.
So you'd run into swirl marks, and they'd seem to go away for a couple days, but then you would find out the only reason why they went away is because the paints or the colors that we were spraying for those days weren't black. And then we would get back into a black car. And where I'm from in Ohio, we would have overcast skies. I call them gray days. Northeastern Ohio, there was a lot of gray sky days. It wasn't like California, where there's not even one cloud in the sky for most of the time.
Right.
So you put a black car out in this sun, it's a little different than putting
revealing.
it in. It's very revealing.
Yeah.
So you could get away with things on a gray sky day.
Yeah.
But that once in a while, when it was totally clear and you did the exact same steps as you did before, and you would pull it out and go, oh my, what happened?
Yeah.
Why? And then I would get yelled at. Why didn't I do what I thought? Well, Dad, I did exactly the same thing I did the last time. So this would be years and years and years. And then well on into having my body shop, I would be the same frustrated person. And of course, I'm using mostly 3M. I would try other people's products because the salesman would come in and tell me about Meguiar's or Presto.
Momentarily convince you to try something else.
And then, but the problem was never gone. There was always that problem of super sunny days, pulling a black car out and just being so upset at my guys that
that was the results that they were delivering.
Yeah, that was what they were delivering.
Guys, this ain't acceptable.
Yeah, and we were charging a lot of money for paint jobs. I mean, way more than a little bit of money. So customers were obviously picky, and I was going to be very picky on my guys, and so it was a point of frustration, constant point of frustration, swirl marks.
So you said, let me interject something, because the point that I'm trying to illustrate is really I want to clarify for guys how this came to be. How did CSI come to be? And I'm not even sure how to lead with this because I know the history myself, but I want to get it on camera for these guys, which you talked about the eyeglass industry. So you can lead how you want. Like you can start with the eyeglass industry, or you can because you made a statement that said anything cleaner, there is nothing cleaner than an eyeglass.
Nothing.
And yet so you can lead how you want.
So I don't know that I was looking for an answer. I don't know. I was just,
you know you were frustrated.
Oh, I'm totally. Now, you know, if I wouldn't have found this answer, I would have said I was frustrated about something else, because I don't even know why I'm frustrated. I'm just ornery. And I think back to my dad and think back to going to lunch with him and like, why are you happy, Dad? You know, because he was in business and he needed to make a profit. So then when I became in business and, you know, I had a lot of mouths to feed, not only my family, but their families, people who work for me. And, you know, you've got all these things, you know, that are coming into business. So if somebody were to ask me back in 1996 when I come to seeing this answer, they would have said, what frustrates you? I would have given them a million different things that frustrated me, not even knowing that this was a big point of frustration for me.
Yeah.
So my wife calls and says, you know, can you come and pick me up? Now, she is the manager.
Okay, guys, this is the story. Okay, so just, this is the noteworthy moment. This is the story.
Yeah, this is
the catalyzing moment.
Because it does bring a smile to my face to even think about it.
Yeah.
And I know it lifted a huge burden. Then it would be another burden on like, how do we do this?
Yeah.
But in seeing the answer, that it was so
because
amazing.
it was an epiphany.
It was
just like,
it was.
It's like the heavens open up, the big ray of sunshine comes down. You're like, oh my gosh, that's it.
That's it. It was just like that. You know, she asked me to come and pick her up. Okay, I don't know that I questioned why I picked her up.
Where were you picking her up at?
At her work.
Okay.
And she was the manager of this huge eyeglass company. Now, because she was in management, she didn't do any of the work. I mean, I don't think she did. She had people there that did this work. But she was in the office and, can you wait a minute? This guy's finishing up this set of eyeglasses. Okay, yeah, sure, I'll wait. I said, can I go back and watch? She goes, yeah, you know, just don't bug him, or I don't know if she put any rules out there, but I did. I just went out there. It was a corporate company, so I'm sure that I was respectful of whatever the rules would be. So I walked back there and I see what he's doing. He had done some grinding on this lens. And
let's clarify lens, because when you watch movies, especially time period movies back in the day, and you see someone like, for example, the first thing that comes to my head, let's say an episode of Twilight Zone, where the guy, all he wants to do is read books.
Yeah.
And his wife is constantly nagging him, and I wish I knew the name of the episode and I don't. His wife is constantly nagging him because all he wants to do is just read books, read books, read books. The world gets destroyed, and now he's singing to himself, oh my gosh, now I've got all the time in the world to read books because there's still some library standing, and he breaks his glasses. And now he's screwed, and there's the irony of the Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
But we think of glasses as truly being glass, like breakable glass, but that's not what they're working on, is it?
Polycarbonate.
So which is a glorified name for plastic.
Yep, and they have to grind the optic into, so when you look at glasses, some that have a big curvature to them are for people that need a stronger prescription. The flatter the lens, the less the optic help, and I don't know how that all works, but I know they grind that optic into the lens. So that's what I'm watching. I'm watching this ground optic lens that looks like grinding marks on the lens. He then puts it in this machine. I don't know that I asked him any questions. I just saw a dull lens going into this machine, and out comes this absolutely perfect. And I'm like, okay, now I got 50 million questions for this guy. And I don't know that he can answer any of them. He just put it in the machine. That's his job. Take the lens, put it in the machine, and out comes this thing, and then he goes home.
I guarantee I would have had the same response. Where I'm seeing this, and now suddenly in my head it's just this ripple effect, like, oh my gosh, what am I witnessing?
Yeah, and so now I'm a chatterbox to my wife, which then digs me into the company that made the machine. I'm a chatterbox to them. I'm looking for answers.
Well, let me clarify something. In your head, at some point, you're connecting the dots.
Oh, man.
Because you're
Instantly.
going, wait a minute. In my world, the industry is teaching me that I've got to go through various types of compounds,
Yep.
various types of polishes that still won't work.
Yeah.
So, well, okay, well, we've got this other product, it's called a glaze.
Yeah.
So because we can't really fix your problem,
Yeah.
we came out with this other product called a glaze. So you slather a glaze over it, and that temporarily fixed the problem that we actually can't fix, even though we've got multiple compounds and multiple polishes and multiple pads.
Yeah.
Is that a fair statement?
Yes, exactly.
So in that moment, as I know I would have, it'd be like, wow, okay, I'm connecting the dots. If this industry can do it, why the hell is my industry
Yes.
not have the ability? Are their chemists really smarter than the chemist over here? Like, really? Because I would question that.
Yeah.
Is that,
Yeah,
would that be fair as to what was happening inside your brain?
And then you go through this, yes, exactly. And then you go through this, like, why didn't these guys do this for me? Why are they not doing this
Yes.
for me? I want to paint cars. I'm not in the business of making products. Why are these gigantic companies not fixing this point of frustration? And now I'm believing that this is a big reason why I'm not smiling more.
Yeah.
This frustration is really making me upset, because I am doing super high-end paint work, and these paint jobs were tens of thousands of dollars for painting a car.
Which is a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, and the thing that the customer is looking at first and foremost is the finish on the car. They are looking at how that paint finish is represented when that car is pulled out to a Cars and Coffee or some kind of car show. And so by looking at how this all worked would be really how CSI came into being.
So when you say this is how CSI came into being, what does that mean to you?
It begins another point of frustration for me.
What
I think it would be
begets
easy.
another frustration?
I really thought this would be easy. I'm not in that business. I'm gonna then.
Okay, clarify. When you say you thought this was going to be easy, what I'm picking up, which I think is what you're putting down, is that, okay, now I observe that this is possible. Like, this is blowing my mind.
Yes.
That you can take a piece of eyeglass lens that's plastic. It's got all these scratch marks. There's no way you could see out of it.
No.
But yet they can put it into this machine that polishes it with a single product,
Yep.
and it comes out flawless.
Perfect.
So that's what you're saying is,
Yep.
is like, okay, you're connecting the dots. It's like, okay, this is what my industry needs, is we need that. And so that's where you're at. It's like you had no idea, like, oh yeah, I think this could be easy, when in reality, you came to a very alternate conclusion.
Yeah, it would be discussing not only with 3M. I discussed with Barry at McGuire's. Like, hey, is this interest?
So you took that idea,
Man, I
and you
need
went
to find
to those
somebody.
people.
I really need help here.
So you went to 3M and Barry McGuire's.
Oh yeah, 3M was
And had
where I went first.
conversations with them.
Oh, big conversations. Oh, this would be, let's do this.
And what
This should
year
be
is
easy. This is my conversations with 3M would last from 1998 to probably 1999.
That's a lot of years ago.
Yeah. Oh, that was.
So I hear this and I think, okay, I don't know if this is going to be a really big sidebar for you, but why would they be unwilling to listen?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I hate to, because Barry and I are friends, and I met Barry at a men's conference at church.
Yeah.
And
approximately what year would this have been?
This would be 2000.
Okay.
Yeah, the year would be maybe 2001. when I met Barry, and I told Barry about my idea. Barry wasn't in a position to, that wasn't an interest to him. One, we're at a church conference, and he's got a great testimony of, about what the Lord has done in his life, and it was really cool to hear. It was just a cool story to hear.
Totally different topic, though.
Different topic, but I had this idea.
Yeah.
And as he being in this business, and it again, was that the Lord just kind of stopping these people? And you and I wouldn't be here today in this business if any of them would have said yes. That we wouldn't.
That's very true.
And so, in a way, this is so much fun. I mean, was it a lot of work? And was there a lot of hills to climb?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was.
A lot of Mount Everest.
A lot of Mount Everest. Oh my gosh. And it seems so easy. I saw the eyeglass. He did it in seconds. He didn't even care about what he was doing. He washes it off with water, so I know there's no cover-ups on this eyeglass. And out comes this perfect lens, and I'm just flabbergasted.
Yeah, the angels are singing.
Yeah. I'm like, do you know the miracle?
This is a miracle.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And he doesn't even consider it to be a miracle. He doesn't consider it to be
Sean,
anything.
that one turned off, I think, by the way, just FYI.
Is it?
I don't know, you can check. Anyhow.
It's still recording.
Oh, okay.
It's a little red dot is still
Okay.
So he doesn't consider it to be anything more than his job.
His job?
Yeah, his job. The guy at the eyewglass.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about Barry McGuire at this point.
No,
Okay.
I don't. I think Barry was just into other things.
Yeah.
Would I have liked
Okay.
it? I couldn't believe that neither one of these people wanted to do anything with me on this.
Hypothesis here from Darren. Perhaps Barry, because honestly, did Barry grow up in a body shop?
Probably not. No, he didn't. No, he was a big company.
I know
doing
he
what they
didn't.
did. Yeah, no,
but
he
you
didn't.
did.
Oh, yeah.
So perhaps the simple answer is Barry did not experience the frustration to incentivize him to be, because if you had presented that to me, and let's say I had deep pockets, as in a lot of money, I'd be like, are you kidding, Tom? If what you're telling me is true, I am all in. If that is legit, I am all in, and I've got some money to throw at this. If we can come up with that solution, because that's one of my big complaints, and it's the conclusion that I've come to, is that why? Because one of my, what I call, once again, my unique value propositions to my viewers is me constantly taking products and using them in ways that is not labeled on the label. What's called off-use label. Wow, now I'm stumbling over my words. The point is, I'm using a product that is not labeled to be used in that way. And I'm thinking, well, I'm pretty certain I could tweak this product to get the results that I want, even though it's not on the label. Yeah. One of the things I do is I find tools from other industries, and I think, why am I constantly having to go out of my industry, whether it's house cleaning, oral hygiene, all these other industries, to find tools that are effective in my own industry? Why is my industry not developing and creating these tools already? And the conclusion I come into is because the guys at the top do not experience the frustration firsthand that I do as a detailer. Not only do I have to perform for my customer, but I want to get paid, and wait for it, I want to be profitable in doing it. But why is my own industry not doing this for me? Because the guys at the top never live this world. And I think that's kind of what you experience. I mean, that's my hypothesis, is these guys never lived it. So therefore, they're not incentivized like you and I are. It's like, guys, this is a serious problem. Help me. But you knew the help wasn't there, so you went off and you decided, I just got to do this on my own.
It would take many, many years before I would even step. I have a body shop with a lot of responsibilities,
right,
and a lot of people who are counting on me. So,
which is my world. In fact, I was just having this discussion with Sean. He goes, you know what, Darren, I don't know. I don't remember. How'd you word that, Sean? By the way, behind the camera today is Sean with Blue Tech Mobile Detailing. So, Sean, thank you very much. We were having this discussion. It was either last week or the week before, and you were kind of lamenting, saying, oh my gosh, I got to show up and do a detail for 8 hours and shooting a video. It's like, Darren, that is a lot of work. It's like, really? You think so, Sean? Now add to it trying to raise 5 kids. Oh, and by the way, when you're done, you're going to go to the gym for 2 hours. Oh, and by the way, you're going to build 2 websites simultaneously at the same time. Oh, and by the way, you're going to start a YouTube channel. So that's what this is like. So I can totally empathize with this, where you're so overwhelmed by what you're already doing. It's like, how am I going to formulate the answer that I need?
Well, I was going to talk about, because I know how much you enjoy working out, and you know how much I enjoy riding bicycles. And I think that for every single person, there, you know, we have levels that we want to, you know, get to. And
I would call that priorities and standards.
And for everybody, it's different.
It is.
You know,
it is.
In my dad's body shop, I would say the most expensive paint job, and this goes back to the 70s, the mid 70s, in a small town in Ohio, the most expensive paint job that we probably did was probably $2,000.
Really?
And that's
pretty low.
It
really.
sounds like it, but a regular paint job, and I remember
back in the 70s.
Back in the 70s,
way low.
Maybe about $300 to $400.
Yeah.
A regular paint job on a car, acrylic enamel, scuff and shoot, $300 to $400.
So $2,000.
That was a lot of money.
That's 4 or 5 times the going rate of a normal paint job.
A lot of money. So that was at the height of, you know, my dad's shop. That was what we were doing, and I thought, wow, this is pretty cool. And
that's
that was
impressive.
Black lacquer on a Buick Wildcat for one of my buddies' dads who was very wealthy. Beautiful car. It was awesome. I just remember being jealous of him, my buddy, and his dad in this car that we painted. You know, it was a beautiful car. But when I moved to California, $2,000. That was still a lot of money, but it was commonplace.
Very different world
Auto Body
here.
would do paint jobs that were over $100,000.
Okay, just to clarify, because a lot of my viewers don't know this, you packed your bags at 18, I think it was.
18.
Moved to California, opened up your own auto body shop called Tom's Auto Body.
Tom's Custom Auto Body.
Okay,
Yep.
Where was it based out of?
Here in Anaheim.
In Anaheim.
Yep.
So just to clarify them, so now we're talking about your body shop, and now your prices are going to where?
$100,000. Over $100,000.
Over $100,000.
$150,000.
Okay, that's a
just for a paint job.
Big leap.
Not for assembly.
That's a big leap. So
$500,000
just
for
the paint job.
$500,000 for the restoration.
$500,000 for the restoration.
And you go, how in the world do you ever? But see, it's just, and there are a whole bunch of things that need to happen in order, you know, to stay in business doing those kind of paint jobs. The same, you know, I think with this. So, you know, I approached 3M, and that definitely wasn't in anything they were going to do with me on this. Even though I'm like, well, of course you're going to do this.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
How would you not want to do this?
This is an answer to my problem. Well, I don't think there were a lot of body shops doing the kind of volume that we were doing at that kind of, so the frustration level wasn't that high for them.
Right, yeah.
So their goals and, you know, would be and the same with Barry. I don't think that there was a big interest in, well, how big is the polish business anyway? Well, it's big in my industry, and I'm very, very frustrated, and I have an answer. This answer really works. And nobody could refute that this answer worked. I mean, by that time, I had already had concocted something, and, you know, I could prove that this would do what I wanted it to do. And
let me interject something, because there was another industry that you've referenced in the past, not just the eyeglass industry, but the canopy of fighter jets.
Well, that would be
aerospace.
So, in my process of discovery, you know, any legal people would know and understand what the term discovery is, but it's used in our industry too. You discover
process.
Things. So I would call the company that made this tool, that polish these eyeglass lenses. Of course, they're not in the auto body. No, you can't use this tool. No, I know I can't use the eyeglass polishing tool to buff a car, but I saw this work. Can I, and it was really hard to get the steps moving. So then they would put me over to a company to do the polish side. And that polish side would fly me back east, where they made fighter canopies. And they took me through...
So jet fighters, aerospace industry, jet fighters, and we're talking about, what are those things
millions.
Cost? Hundreds of millions to build these things?
And they're done on a 25-foot round, 2-inch solid piece of plastic.
Yeah.
And they got these wheels polishing. So because I'm now talking to sales or marketing or somebody who want to tell me how important their job is, just like we all do, right?
Yeah.
We all want to explain, and
we all want to pat ourselves on the back.
Like, let me tell you about my trade.
Because of this. Yeah.
So this guy or girl, I don't remember what it was, who I was talking to, but they wanted to explain all the bullet points on what they're doing. And they go, imagine this. If you're fighting in a jet airplane and the enemy is on your 6 and you have to look through a swirl marked window. Now you can't see them, and they shoot you and kill you.
That sounds like a problem to me.
So it's like,
because I don't want to be that jet fighter.
Yeah. And if I'm trying to sell canopies to whoever, that would be a good bullet
millions
point.
Of dollars. Yes.
Yeah, you don't want your pilots being killed in little,
which seems trivial.
It does.
But when you're talking about a life or death situation now, which is different than eyeglasses.
It is different.
But the same concept holds true, which is, okay, we're dealing with perfection, people. Yes. We need perfection.
Total perfection. And all of this would go to ground in that whole concept of one product is enough. You don't need, because they were explaining it to me in the eyeglass industry. The eyeglass industry would then send me to the airplane canopy, who would then explain it to me that they're doing this all with one single product.
Which is different than my industry that says, hey, we've got this really cool new polish, a really new cool compound, and it is the best.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now what? Okay, see, your world, it's like, okay, they're not actually saying it's the best. They're actually having to perform at the highest level of perfection. Mm-hmm. So now you can tangibly see, like, okay, this isn't a company that's just making these claims. I'm actually witnessing this firsthand in the eyeglass industry and the canopy industry. Like, okay, they're actually producing the results.
Perfect.
They're not just a company that's saying, oh no, we're the best, we can make it perfect. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, you're witnessing it firsthand that, oh my gosh, they are actually producing the results that I need in my industry.
And once you narrow it down to this whole conceptual idea of one single product, now the variables aren't other products. The variables are, what are the dust particles in the air? So now you're looking at different things as being the constraint issues. How about buffing in a vacuum chamber?
Right.
Because the surface is going to be cleaner and clearer if we know we're only going to use one product.
Right.
But picture throwing in 14 other products into this variable. Oh my God. What are your constraints?
So this may not be the only conclusion, but it's one of the conclusions I'm coming to, which is in my industry and your industry as well, which is paint polishing, is like, okay, we can't really fix it with a single polish, so let's try to fix it with an additional polish and another additional polish and another compound and another compound. That's not what's happening. You're saying is like, no, we are doing it with one polish, period.
Period.
So any other problems has to be refined to a single polish. That's it.
That's right.
So any other constraint or problems or difficulties, it's going to be out there. We have to figure out a single polish.
And from the moment that we started to launch this campaign, the idea was that we would guarantee that. So as long as you were doing exactly the way we say, throw everything else in the trash can.
In fact, right now you're being diplomatically, you're just being diplomatic, because I've heard you word that differently, which is, okay, all that other stuff is garbage. Throw it in the trash can. It's garbage.
If you want to have problems, use the other problems. Use all
the
this
other
other
products
stuff.
if you want problems.
Yeah, they will equate to me being very, very frustrated without having an answer, because every salesman would tell me his version of these 14 products.
Right.
And now that's not a variable.
What will also happen is you will find your pocketbook less full, because you will shell out additional money for all these additional products.
And at the end of the day, your problem's not solved. Oh, it seems solved on the gray sky days.
Right.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
Let's all go home and barbecue and spend time with our families. But then when I come to work in the morning and it's beautiful, bright, sunny day, and I got a line of people standing outside telling me how bad we are about polishing cars.
Yeah. Oh. Or you delivered a car that looked acceptable.
Perfect. Totally.
And then they run it through the first car wash, or they wash it themselves for the first time.
Yep.
And now they're like, what the hell? Like, okay, what happened?
Yeah.
And now there's a really big problem. And they come back. They want some accountability on your part.
I have a nice pair of Oakleys that I wear all the time. And
Oakley, in case you don't know, I mean, they're global.
Oakley, yeah.
But I know there's people in the Midwest, wherever, where they're like, in fact, I have cousins that grew up in Northern California, and we used to joke with them. It's like, okay, Darren, we don't live in Southern California. You guys are like 10 years ahead of us. So in case you don't know, Oakley is a well-known, they make sunglasses.
Yeah.
Well-known sunglasses.
Nice. I mean, they're very nice.
Very
I've had
quality.
this pair for a couple of years.
They're actually based here, I think, still in Foothill Ranch, Irvine area.
Yeah.
Really cool building.
Yeah, cool building. So I always, and yesterday we had a big ride, 60 miles, hard ride, you sweat a lot. But when I take the glasses off and I clean the lens, I'm looking for scratches.
Yeah.
I don't want to see any scratches on these lenses, and I take care of them. I put them in a bag when I'm done and clean them and do all that stuff. When you introduce variables, the chances of keeping these lenses clean for 2 years, next to impossible. It wouldn't happen. It would be scratched up. So that's what it reminds me of. When I'm looking at these lenses, I know that as long as I'm not putting a bunch of different compounds or whatever into this lens, I'm not going to have a problem.
So they will last 2 years.
Oh, I hopefully, as long as and I paid a lot of money for them, so I don't sit on them or do anything like that. They go in a separate place. I wear them all the time. I think they'll last. Who knows how long they'll last? Maybe they'll last for, and then they become even less expensive than buying cheap sunglasses.
Right.
Because per year I'm only buying
it over 2 years.
Yeah,
yes.
They still look good, and they still, the lenses are. I don't know how they make those lenses, but they're not scratching.
They're doing something special.
Yeah, they're doing something special to make them last a long time.
Which kind of defaults to, as a rule, you generally get what you pay for.
Yeah, exactly.
Because your polish is not the cheapest polish on the block.
Nope.
Period.
Nope.
It's not.
But we do say that it's going to be less expensive in the long run, because you're not going to have the
and this is where we talk about this is where we talk about, people label this different ways, the impossible triangle.
Yes.
Cost, speed, time.
Yep.
And you say that even though your polish is not the cheapest polish on the block, but when you factor that in, that it can actually answer the problem of cost, even though the product itself is not cheap, but because in the long term, because it resolves other problems, that it actually does answer the cost issue.
That's right.
Which is really a video for a whole nother time. Because what I wanted to clarify is kind of the catalyzing moment, how that literally came to be. Because I always know, because in today's world, you can fabricate an entire existence out of thin air called social media. So what I like to do, because if you present me with something, a challenge, or you're trying to clarify something like, hey Darren, let's talk about your diet. Let's talk about weight training, or let's talk about you starting your business. It's like, I'm gonna have a very specific answer because I know exactly in that moment when that happened. Because what I see guys do is what I call is they'll answer these questions with a non-answer. So someone will present them as like, oh, so you've been in the business how long? Yeah, you know, like 30 years. Really? 30 years? Like, yeah. So when did you start? Well, shoot, I've been in the car business. I've been around cars since I was for 30 years. And then they start like what I call diluting the answer. And now you've just been deflected from the real question to now this big cloud of storytelling.
Yeah.
And I think, wait a minute, that guy really didn't answer the question. So in my world, when someone asks me that, it's like, I know that defining moment. I know the point where I was so frustrated working for corporate America that I could not take another day of it. And I said, I don't care if I fail. I don't care if I go bankrupt. I just know this is unacceptable. And I can illustrate in great detail how that came to be, which is why I want to capture this on video, which is there's not this ambiguous answer. And it's like you have this like, okay, this is what happened. And even though it was accidental, it doesn't matter. The point is it happened. And you know exactly when it happened. You know when the heavens parted and the big ray of sunshine came down, you're like, oh my gosh, I need this in my world. Because this is going to fix some very specific, painful moments in my world. So that's what I wanted to clarify for people is the timeline and how this product came to be and how you can stand there in what people would call a very boastful manner and say, that other stuff is garbage. This is a single product polish and it will answer your questions and it is the best. And so that's what I want to do is unpack this, disassemble it, dissect it, which is going to lead us into the very next video, which is we're going to be talking about anti-static formulations. So is there anything as far as the timeline that you want to add that's maybe very specific? I don't know, anything else?
I think the coolest thing is that these other things that I look back at that history, at which it's been a long time. That was a long, long time ago. It seems like yesterday because I remember it so clearly. And I was so like, why are these people? And really, Darren, as far as, I've had a lot of people involved with me in this business. And we've had some success in the marketplace, but because, and I guess it's because of everything that you've been through in your business and I've been through, and then we come together and it's this perfect combination. So I am glad that none of those things happened that I wished would have happened.
Yes.
Because we wouldn't be here today discussing this basic truth.
Very unlikely.
Yeah.
Very unlikely.
We would have all gone on different pathways.
Because really, in so many ways, and trust me, there's going to be people watching this that's going to be like, oh my gosh, now these guys are just going to go into a mutual stroke fest. And they're going to be reaching over, and I'll just keep it clean by saying they're going to be patting each other on the back. If we were out in the real world, I would articulate that in a more crass manner. But the point is it's true. So when I first walked into your shop in Placentia, like 15 plus years ago, and you told me about this wax, and that you gave me some, but you started telling me the attributes of it, and I thought, that's not possible. You can't use wax on black trim. You can't wax a car in direct sunlight. And you started telling me, it's like, and you said, just go try it. And I tried it. It's like, And I'm like, what the heck? This stuff is crazy. How is this even possible? And so in many ways, it's like, yes, like you're an answer to my own frustrations. Like, how is this even possible?
And I honestly believe, because, you know, we all realize truths. You know, there's this one undeniable thing called truth in lots of different aspects of life.
Yes.
But when we find it, oh my gosh, it's the best thing, and we'll just drop everything to run after that.
Yes.
You know, so.
And I don't know how many people actually can to me, when you say that, I can identify with that perfectly. But I wonder how many people have experienced those kinds of frustrations, because I'm, you know, as my mom says, it's like, you know what, honey, you're just complicated. It's like, yes, Mom, that's one of many things I've been called. So yes, I am a complicated thinker, a complex thinker. So, but I don't know how many people really identify these real pressure points in their life. I just know I've
it's going to be different for everybody.
I do too.
Because even when I get this passionate with my dad, who's been in the trade longer than I have, he's kind of like, yeah, you know, not that interested.
Yeah.
Or like, you'll get into exercising, and I know how passionate you are, or I'll get into bicycling,
Yes.
and you'll see people's eyes glaze over.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, when you walk in here and you see how many bicycles I have, they're like, okay, he is a nutcase about bicycles.
Right.
Well, to me, it's important.
Yes.
You know, it is. It's important. So, you know, this polish thing. Yeah, is it important to me because I want to make money? Well, I don't know, maybe. But it's important to me because I know it absolutely works.
Yes,
And it
yes.
cannot be denied. And the coolest thing is all these competitors now have their version of one single product. That is the coolest thing.
Wait for it. Now I know one of them.
Yeah.
And we're talking a massive player in the world. Where they call their true one-step compound.
Yeah.
They still call it a compound because it is.
Yeah.
And so I think, oh, so your first version was like the untruthful version of a compound, like it was a one-step compound, but it wasn't really the true one-step compound.
Yeah.
Like my little brain has difficulty with that statement. It's like.